It is probably one of the most iconic photos of the Vietnam War. A helicopter on the roof of the American embassy as it was stormed by dozens of people trying to flee advancing North Vietnamese troops. It was 50 years ago, on the 30th of April 1975. Saigon, the capital of French Indochina, now South Vietnam, fell after 30 years of civil war. It was immediately renamed Ho Chi Minh City in honour of the father of the Vietnamese Communist Revolution. The fall of Saigon has become a symbol of the failure of the colonial wars of the 20th century, but also of the military rout suffered by the American army. For the city itself, which had been prosperous, it was the beginning of its decline. Hundreds of thousands of people, fearing reprisals, desperately tried to leave. They were the first boat people. Millions followed. It's estimated that 30,000 South Vietnamese were executed by northern forces after the fall of Saigon. The Communist Party nationalised any industrial and agricultural production, censored any ideology contrary to Leninism and Marxism, and banned all private enterprise. It was a revolution that stagnated Saigon for over 20 years. But then, in 1986, Vietnam reintroduced a market economy, and 8 years later, the United States lifted its trade embargo. In just a few years, Ho Chi Minh City once again became the country's economic powerhouse, a capitalist metropolis in communist territory. But for those who lived through the dark years of the Civil War, it is impossible to forget the fall of Saigon. William de Tamaris and Justin McCurry report for France 24.
The presidential palace in Saigon, once the heart of South Vietnam's government. Today, the red flag flies on the building's roof. It's now a symbol of the power of the country's communist rulers. This veteran is a war hero.
We were like grains of sand among billions across Vietnam, giving our all for the historic victory of April 30th, 1975.
That morning, this soldier from North Vietnam's Special Forces fought street battles across Saigon. He was just 22. At 11:30 a.m., communist tanks stormed the presidential palace. It was the final battle of a civil and colonial war that left Vietnam in ruins for 3 decades.
I've carried the memory of those final moments before the South's liberation around with me for 50 years. From that moment, Vietnam became a unified country.
Saigon was once known as the Pearl of the Far East, the economic heart of French Indochina and the capital of pro-US South Vietnam. Today, this sprawling metropolis of nearly 10 million is called Ho Chi Minh City, in a tribute to the leader of the Vietnamese Revolution. Every year, Nguyen Van Chong comes here to pray for his fallen comrades. This pagoda was built in their honor.
Play the song Soul of a Martyr.
Nguyen fought fiercely during the battle for Saigon. 53 soldiers were killed, nearly half of his company, in just 3 days. Between 1 and 3 million people would die by the end of the war.
Every time I read the names of my fallen comrades, their faces come back to me. I'm overwhelmed with sadness. Like me, they were just 18 or 20 years old, but they fell before the liberation.
Half a century on, the conflict still looms large. Hello! Hello! Xin chào. Hello, Min. Min. This is Min. Min. This American veteran of the Vietnam War has a new mission, helping the tens of thousands of Vietnamese affected by Agent Orange, the noxious herbicide used as a weapon by the US military. Nearly 50 million litres were dumped across the country. Agent Orange is extremely toxic and can remain in the environment for decades. It causes cancer, miscarriages and birth defects.
When I was first exposed to seeing the effects of the chemical on the children, the boys and girls here in Vietnam, there were sometimes I would cry. I would be here and I would be with the children and tears would come to my eye. And that's what drew me to come here to want to help.
Matt Keenan left his New York life behind and moved to Vietnam. He now volunteers almost every day at this centre, which looks after about 30 children.
Sewing shop is interesting because the girls and staff, they make things that they sell to the community, and that helps support the center.
Phung is a 45-year-old former resident of the centre. He now helps run it.
Before, when I was young and didn't know much about history, I hated Americans. But later I understood it wasn't their fault. American citizens fought in Vietnam because their country ordered them to.
Keenan joined the army and then spent a year in Vietnam. Today he lives in Da Nang, where he was once stationed.
I have many photographs that I took when I was here in Vietnam in 1971 and 1972. This is a photo of us after a long, long day.
He thought he'd be safe after being given a non-combat role in military administration.
I'd rather hit a 16-pound typewriter than shoot an M16. You think, oh, you're administrative, you're working in an office, you're out of danger. Well, for instance, here in Da Nang, this was Rocket City. Always hit by rockets. It had a reputation of being a target.
Keenan was exposed to Agent Orange, along with more than 1 million other American soldiers. 12 years ago, he was diagnosed with a cancer officially linked to the chemical.
So having the cancer was the seed that was implanted in my mind I want to know more about this chemical, and I need to go where I was exposed to it. I need to see the people who were directly exposed to it, the Vietnamese people.
American troops left Vietnam in 1973, 2 years before the fall of Saigon. Some soldiers left behind children, like Cam Thuy's father.
My mother told me my father was American, that I was mixed race. I always wanted to know if it was true, if I really was the daughter of a GI. My dream was to find out where I truly came from.
To find answers, she contacted an NGO that reunites families separated by the war. They found her father, but he died in 2023, aged 80. As the daughter of a veteran, she's eligible for US citizenship.
It's a real challenge. It's very hard to start a new life in the US, especially without a job. You're going to go through culture shock at first.
She's asked her daughter to take a DNA test to support her application. The fall of Saigon in 1975 was the start of a tough life for Asian American children. Anyone with ties to the US was viewed with suspicion.
As a child, I had brown hair, and I really looked mixed race. I wasn't allowed to attend school during the day. I could only study at night. And deep inside, I cried for my absent father.
This dark cloud hung over the entire city. Between 1975 and 1986, the communist government tried to extinguish the city's capitalist and colonial past. Between 300,000 and 1 million South Vietnamese were sent to re-education camps. The many who fled the country became known as the Boat People. Minh was a year old when his parents left Saigon.
Just like any immigrant parent, they stay silent. There is like bad memory just all being the Boat People. As a children, we stopped asking over time and just understood the painful journey that they've been through to get us to where we are.
But better days were ahead. In 1986, Vietnam reopened to the world and Ho Chi Minh City became a successful economic center. Minh, who grew up in New York, became a successful tech entrepreneur. Today, he's back in his parents' homeland.
This is the right time. This is the right time.
Yeah. That's why I came back, like Vietnam is like developing so fast.
This evening, he's brought together students and entrepreneurs to talk about artificial intelligence.
So thank you everyone for coming tonight. So my name is Minh Chao, so I'm the CEO of Pascal. How can we better educate the team over here, right? Why can we be like Silicon Valley, right? How can we not be one of the top? Why not Vietnam?
Vietnam is hoping to become a major tech hub in the coming decades and produces tens of thousands of engineers every year. This pool of talent convinced Minh to invest in Ho Chi Minh City.
I truly believe that Vietnam could be the major economical hub. A lot of Vietnamese, they hard workers. The age of the country is like mid-20s, right? So everybody's hungry to do something. And where Ho Chi Minh City is also very competitive in nature, where there's a lot of startup.
I say this proudly. Our tech expertise is on a par with India or China. We have nothing to be jealous about. One day, Vietnam will become the next Silicon Valley.
The city's skyline already suggests it could become an Asian Silicon Valley. New skyscrapers appear every month. Luxury homes for the wealthy and ambitious, including Minh.
When I walk in this area, where I feel like I'm in New York City, Central Park. And as you walk down, and you have both sides of the world, right, where it is the new Saigon versus the old Saigon next to each other.
50 years after the end of the war, it's possible to think that the scars of history are healing.
As a children of war, I feel like this is the city, has been rebirthed like a phoenix, where the children could be freely play on the playground, like over here, where I had the opportunity to grow up in US, having the same playground. Now I could offer this opportunity to my children in Saigon itself.
But despite Vietnam's economic miracle, memories of war persist. Nguyen Van Chong, the veteran, became a teacher after the war.
Welcome to my home.
But he'll never forget his years in uniform.
Thế thì mỗi lần anh mặc cái bộ quân phục trên này thì anh thấy thế nào?
I've always been proud to be a Vietnamese soldier. My most sacred medal, the Second-Class Order of Resistance, for my role in the liberation of the South and the unification of the country.
He's spending time with fellow veterans for the independence celebrations.
Wine or beer? Bring more chairs.
The Vietnamese don't speak of Saigon's fall, but of its liberation. A communist victory that, above all, is the realization of a future the Vietnamese had been dreaming about for centuries, to finally become a united country.